Okay, so in this video we're going to learn how to make this lovely baby beanie. There will be a seam when you're done with this beanie. There are techniques so that this doesn't happen. I'm not going to show those techniques because I think that the seam works really well so that you know how to place your hat. If you want to find a way to get rid of that seam showing, there are many videos on YouTube that can help you with those techniques. So the first thing you're going to need is your hook and your pattern and your yarn. So I have the same yarn that we've been working with, which is the Mainstays basic yarn, and the color is medium gray heather. And I have the pattern I've provided on the online course, which is the Beginner's Basic Hat Pattern by Missy's Stitch and Sew. Now you've already watched videos on how to read a pattern. This is how you're going to put that to the test. So this pattern is very simple and very well written out. At the very top says stitches required to complete pattern. So these are the stitches you need to know: the chain stitch, the slip stitch, and the double crochet. If you need to review these stitches, please look back at the days before video so that you can refresh. The hook size says a size H or 5.0 millimeter. That is the hook that I've provided you. Each hook makes for a hat with less space between each stitch. Bigger hooks with worsted weight yarn makes a hat look a little spacey. So we are using worsted weight yarn with an H hook. If you wish in the future to make this hat and have more spaces in it, as it says, you would just go up a hook size. And for this pattern, you can use with any worsted weight acrylic yarn. So there's Red Heart, Hobby Lobby's, I love this yarn, and of course the one we're using now, which is Mainstays, that we can find at Walmart. This pattern specifically is only to fit babies from 0 to 3 months. So it's a very small hat, but it works up pretty quick. It needs to be 14 inches in circumference, which is why I have provided a measuring tape that we will measure as we get to that point, and then 5.5 inches in length, which I'm not sure if I have 5.5 inches on here. We'll have to check that. Alright, so to begin, it says chain 4. The CH is for chain, so chain 4. And any time that you start a project, you will start with a slip knot. If you still struggle with slip knot, please refer to the previous videos. So once you have your tension set up with your one hand and you're holding the hook with the other in the way that's most comfortable to you, you're going to chain 4. So you're going to yarn over, pull through. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to continue. So we've chained 4. Join with slip stitch to the first chain to form a circle. So you have your chain 4 here. You're going to turn it just slightly. This is your first chain, your first stitch. So you're going to put your hook through, you're going to yarn over, pull that yarn through that, and then you're going to pull that same loop all the way through. Now you have a circle. It's a very small circle, but we have a circle. Make sure your tail is out of the way. You do not want to be crocheting with your tail. So we've done that. We've joined the slip stitch to the first chain to form a circle. You will be crocheting around in a circle for hats. For blankets and such, you crochet in rows, not rounds. So for hats, instead of it being called a row, it's called a round. Just because we do go in circles. So the next part is where we really start. It says round 1. Chain 3. So always do this in small steps so you don't get confused. So 1, 2, 3. It says 11 double crochet inside the circle. So you're going to yarn over or wrap around, go into that circle that's right there that we've made, wrap around or yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 1 double crochet. So we need 10 more after that. You'll keep working in this circle. One, 2, 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. So you'll always want to go back and make sure that you did do the right amount. I never trust my counting. I get distracted. You know, it's normal. So you're going to go back and you're going to make sure you count. So this should be your first one. I usually like to use a stitch marker. So I have this as a stitch marker, or you can use a paper clip. If you do go out and buy these kinds of stitch markers, I do recommend them. They're metal, they don't break, and they clasp so you don't lose where you're at. So I would count this, I believe, as my first stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're looking at these V's. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then this right here counts as a 12th double crochet. That was our chain. So I'm going to make sure everything is back in the correct position. Alright, so it said round 1, chain 3, which we did, 11 double crochet inside the circle. Now it says join with a slip stitch to the top of chain 3. So this was our first double crochet stitch, but over here is our chain. So the very top of this chain would be this V right here. So you're going to take the yarn, go to the very top. It can be a little bit difficult at times. Alright. And you're going to slip stitch, which means you're going to wrap around. Did I do that right? Ah, look at that. Alright, so this is your chain 3 right here. 1, 2, 3. You're going to want to go to the top of that and make a slip stitch. So you're going to go right in between, like that, so you have that V there. You're going to wrap around, going to pull through, and then to make the slip stitch, you don't wrap around again. You just pull that same loop through that last one. There you go. You've now done a slip stitch to join the round. That will make it 12 double crochets. So you will have a total, you will have 12 double crochets total, including the chain 3. So then we're going to go to the next part. It says round 2. So we did round 1, did the first part. Now round 2. Chain 3. So you're going to chain 3. Now the difference with working in the round, you don't normally turn your work. So with chain 3, if we were doing rows, like with the bookmark, we would have turned. But we're not turning, we're leaving it this way. Also, you see that the hole here is decently big. I will show you how to close that up at the end of the video. So, now that we've chained 3, and actually, since the chains can be a little bit difficult to see, I'm going to go ahead and use my stitch marker. I'm going to put it right here through the last chain of my chain 3. That's where we're always going to put a slip stitch through. Right through there. There we go. Okay. Place your hook back in. You don't have to do this, but I do it just to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So, after we chain 3, so we've done that, we're going to do double crochet in the same stitch. So, we're going to wrap around, and the same stitch is this one right here that the chain has gone in through. So we're going to go right into there. It can be a little tight, it's okay. We're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now that we've double crocheted in the same stitch, and it explains, this is to the base of the chain 3, so if your stitches look like they are crammed in together, then that is right. Then we're going to do 2 double crochets in every stitch around. So when they say every stitch, they're talking about those little V's at the top. So we're going to do a double crochet, 2 double crochets in each one. So we're going to do the double crochet in the next one. So the next one, this was the one we just worked in. So here's the next. Go in, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. We're going to do that again in the same stitch. So now we've worked in this stitch, but we need to have 2, so we're going to go again with another double crochet. Now we're going to do that for each stitch around. So 2 double crochet in each one. That would be my dog, Chewy, saying hello to another dog who is barking outside. Hi, Chewy. Stop it. So anytime that you are working in the round, this is basically how you start it up. When you're doing the 2 double crochet in each stitch, that is called an increase. 2 double crochet or 2 stitches in one singular stitch is an increase. Also, if you ever have to undo your work to make sure that you did it right, that's okay. That is also, I found out recently, there's a term for that. When you undo your work, it's called frogging. And at first I didn't understand. Why would it be called frogging? And then it was explained to me. Because you rip it out. So, like the sound a frog makes. I thought that was cute. So as you saw, I did go back to check my work. I thought I made a mistake. I made some of my double crochets in that first round a little too loose, but that's okay. Crochet is very forgiving, so when we finish this up, I might be able to make that look a lot less spacey. But if not, that's perfectly fine. That's the charm of having something handmade, is those little nuances. So that should be 2 double crochet in each round. At the very end of our instructions, most patterns will tell you how many stitches there should be in that round. So this one says 24 double crochet, so I'm going to check that. I'm going to go backwards. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And this right here, when I join it, so that's the next part of our instructions, is join with a slip stitch to the top of chain 3. That will make our 24th stitch, our 24th double crochet. So I'm going to do that now. And I always count before I finish off a round. That way I don't have to do this part again, because this can be a little bit time consuming or difficult for some people, and I'm one of those people. So I'm going to do the slip stitch, so you're just going to yarn over. Once you get your hook through, yarn over, pull through, and pull that same yarn right through there. Now that we've joined it, I have 24 double crochets. Okay, so I've taken my stitch marker out. I'll place it in the next round. So reading back over it to make sure I didn't miss anything. It says 2 double crochet in each stitch around, which we did. And join with a slip stitch at the top of the chain 3. And we have 24 double crochet. So then we're going to move on to round 3. So just as before, we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, oops, let me do that again so make sure you guys can see that. 1, 2, 3. That was my 3rd chain. I'm going to put my stitch marker right there, just as I did in the last round, just so it's easier to find. Sometimes if you make your chain too tight, it's really difficult to find the top. So we've chained 3. Now it says double crochet in the same stitch. So double crochet, yarn over. I like to stretch it out to make sure I'm working in the right thing. That's the same stitch right there. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we double crocheted in the same stitch. Now we're going to 1 double crochet in the next stitch. So the last round we did 2 in each stitch. This time for this next stitch it's just asking for 1. So we're going to do 1 double crochet. We worked in this stitch, now we're going to work in this stitch. Pull, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Alright, so we did 1 double crochet in the next stitch. Now, in a pattern, as we read before or watched, an asterisk here means we go from asterisk to asterisk. That means this pattern that's being said in here is going to be repeated for as many times as it indicates at the end of it. So this asterisk, from this asterisk to the next one, says 2 double crochet in the next. So that means the next stitch. Then 1 double crochet in the next stitch after that. So it's going to be, so I'll show you what that looks like. That's going to, it says 2 double crochet in the next stitch. So 2 double crochet, 1, 2, and then 1 double crochet. So that's what this looks like. So we have 2 double crochet in 1 stitch, 1 double crochet in 1 stitch. And as we read, it says repeat around. So that means to the very end of it, this is what we're going to repeat. This pattern even explains the asterisk in case you were confused. It says the asterisk simply means you will need to repeat this step. Then when we're done with going all the way around, just as before, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of chain 3, and we should have 36 double crochet. So I'm going to continue on with that. So we already did 2 double crochet and 1 double crochet. So the next time, or the next one, will be 2 double crochet. 1, 2, and then 1 double crochet. 1. Then 2 double crochet. 1, 2, then 1 double crochet. 1. And you'll do this all the way around. And if you're unsure what you just did, so like I said, getting distracted is very normal for me, so I do this a lot. I sometimes forget where I was or how I done it, and as it gets bigger, sometimes it gets really confusing. So you can easily see with your own work, if you spread it out, you'll see how there's spaces. You see 2 are right there. That definitely looks different than this. So you know you did 2 here, 1 here, 2 here, 1 here, and I just did 2 here, so the next one will be 1. See, I think I messed up there because I distracted myself. So I did 2 here, 1 here. Looks like I went 1 and 1, so I need to back up. I only need to back up once. And make sure I do that double crochet in that stitch. If you can find your mistake early on, it makes it a lot easier. But I have completely frogged a piece of work before because I just could not find where I made the mistake, but I knew I had. With crochet, it's very forgiving with some mistakes. A lot of times, if you're off just by 1 stitch at the very end, you can add another stitch without having to go all the way back. Which is one of the reasons why I do like crochet. It's a lot easier going than some other yarn crafts, such as knitting or Tunisian crochet. See, I made another mistake. Two in here. One last step. Alrighty. Okay. I had to take a moment's break, a long moment, since my camera died. So I'm back. Alright. So, back to looking at our work. Our work is facing up. This would be backwards. That's also why I like to keep this tail here. I don't weave it in until later because it tells me what side it is in case I'm, lost, confused, get a long distraction. Alright, so now we're on to round 5. Alright, so on round 5, as before, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And once again, I'm going to put my stitch marker right through it. That's the top of my 3rd chain. We know that's going to be important at the end. Make sure it's secure. So basically, this is the crown of the head. This is how wide it has to be. From here on out, as we go down the rounds, it's the same exact thing all the way down. If you make your beanie to be the size for an adult, the information I provided will show you how to do that. And when I tell you to measure, this is what I'm telling you to measure right here. So for an adult beanie, for my own, I make it at 7.5 inches. So I would have to do a few more rounds of increasing. So for this pattern, we did 2 double crochet in one stitch, 1 double crochet in the next. Then in the next round, we did 2 double crochet in one stitch, 1 double crochet in one stitch, 1 double crochet in the second stitch. To keep increasing, you just add it again, and you would do 2 double crochets in one stitch, 1 double crochet in one, 1 double crochet in the second, 1 double crochet in the third. You would keep increasing until it equals the length that you determine for your head size. Like I said, mine is about 7.5 inches. So I would have to probably do that increase at least 3 more times. So going back to this pattern here, this is asking us to double crochet in each stitch around. We do not want to go into this stitch here. It will increase. If we go into this stitch here, it will make the hat get bigger and bigger slightly, but only in this one spot. And we don't want that. At this point, we just want the hat to grow in length, but not in size. We don't want it to widen. So. At this point, when you are double crocheting one in each stitch, it will start to curve, and that is exactly what you want. You don't want one big flat piece. You want it to curve so that it can go around your head like a hat should. I do change up the way I hold my hook sometimes. It helps me be able to crochet longer. I do get fatigue in my hands at times, so you see me changing up. It really doesn't matter which way that you hold your hook. Being consistent is a big thing until you get used to it, but it's really the tension on how you hold your yarn that really determines the tension and gauge of your work. So I'm almost done with this round, and you can already see that it's curving. I'm going to make it go the other way since that's the way it's supposed to go. There we go. You can kind of see it's starting to look more and more like a hat. Oops. So remember, we're doing a double crochet all the way around this one. We're not increasing. And just as there's increasing, this pattern doesn't have it, but there is also a term called decreasing, which instead of putting 2 double crochets in one stitch, it would be making 2 stitches come together, basically, to make 1 stitch. If you want to learn more about that, there are many videos on YouTube. Please check them out if you're interested. This is a skill that just keeps building on itself. Alright, I'm going to go in this last one right here. I think. Yes. Alright. And then just like with every other round, you're going to go into the top of your of your 3 chains, go on top of your 3rd chain. You're going to slip stitch that together. There you go. So that was round 5. We double crocheted in each stitch around, and we should have 48 stitches. So even though I've already joined and I know I wasn't doing this before, I can still count them from right here. So what I'll do, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, and 48. So we have 48 stitches, and that's what we want. Alright, so then we're going to go to round, the next part says round 6 through 10. So it's doing the exact same thing we did for round 5. So what I do so I can keep track, I go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So after I complete each round, I'm going to go ahead and check those off. It's the exact same thing. You should still end up with 48 stitches. 48 stitches at the end of each one of these. So you want to put that there so you can check that off as well. You are more than welcome to. I do like printing out my patterns so I can do the check-offs, and you can write it up and note it up. But if you like to look at these patterns electronically, please do so. The point of crocheting is to be creative and do it in a way that makes you comfortable. So 1, 2, 3. Put that stitch marker there. I'll come back to you when I've done all of these rounds, and I'll show you how to finish this up. Okay, so I've completed rounds 6, 7, 8, and 9. I'm at the very end of round 10. I've counted that I have 48 stitches still. And I'm going to go into, like at the end, I'm going to join with a slip stitch at the top of my chain 3. If I can. Some technical difficulties. Okay, so I've joined. Now I'm going to take my stitch marker out. At this time, you have the choice that you can put a trim on your hat. If you want to do one more row in a half double crochet or a single crochet, you can. It gives it a nice little ending. In this one, I did a single crochet as my final one. I'm not doing it on this one. I'm leaving it just as it is. So to fasten off, what you're going to do is you're going to get a tail of your yarn. So I would, like I said, I usually measure it to be at least the length of the crochet hook. Just make sure you have enough that you can comfortably sew back in. Alright, so you're going to snip that. And you're going to take that yarn and you're going to filter it right through that loop. You're going to pull it tight. There, it's fastened off. So on your directions here on your pattern, it says after you completed your final round, fasten off your yarn. They give the measurement of a 1.5 inch tail. I like a longer tail. I think it's easier to weave it in, and then you can cut it to the size that you need. Weave your tail in your hat and then backtrack for a sturdier hold with a yarn needle. So what that's talking about is this here is your yarn needle, and you can do this with a crochet hook. It's a little bit harder, that's why I like the needle, but you can do it. So if you've misplaced your needle, it is still possible. So with your needle, you're going to put the yarn through. Okay. Like that. And then, just as we've done before, you're going to go ahead and just weave your needle through. I like to go back and forth at the edge, going with the V's. Pull it through, not too tight. You can always stretch it out. I do this for a little bit. And then you want to weave it. So after I do that, I want to make sure it's going on the inside. Right. You're going to flip your hat inside out. And here's where you're going to weave it up and through the hat. So it can be very random. It doesn't have to be perfect. It hides the stitches as you just weaving it through. Remember, pull lightly. If you pull too hard, you'll make it scrunch up. You don't want that. But if you do, just make sure, just pull it a little bit. It'll pull it out. Alright. I'm going to make it go just a little bit longer. I'm a little obsessive with this. I don't like cutting off too much of my yarn. I'm just going to go through. Couple more. Like I said, it can be very random. It doesn't have to be a specific stitch you go through. I do like to go upwards just in case. So what I would do here is I'd pull a little bit tighter when you're ready to cut off the edge, the end of it, the tail. You cut. Make sure not to cut the work, but just the tail. You cut it. And right now you can see this little piece, but then as you pull, it disappears. You wouldn't even know you had a tail there. So remember, this is the inside. Now I told you at the beginning of the video that this little hole here, I will show you how to close that up. You're going to take your yarn needle again, and you're going to weave these in. Now this, you want to go around the circle. So you're just going to weave it in and out around the circle. And you will pull tight on this. That's kind of the point. So you're going to pull real tight on it so that you make it scrunch up and hide that space. There we go. See? Now we don't have that space. I would continue just to make sure. And weave it in and out, in and out. And just as you did before, where you pulled tight, you can pull it real tight, snip it, stretch it out. I make sure that it's fastened off. I go straight across like this, and I make a knot with it. So I make sure that it's steady, and then I go ahead and I lost it. I weave it in a little bit more. And that's just for my liking. You don't have to do all this. You can even leave that hole there if you like it. Some people do. I'm not one of those people. But I will not judge you for that. That's complete preference. And everyone has their own style when they crochet. So now that I've weaved this in, I've tightened it up. I'm going to again go really close to the work, but without cutting the work. Cut my tail. Stretch it out. And yet again, you don't know that there was ever a tail there. So here's the lovely beanie. So I've made one earlier, which I showed you, which was this one. This one came out smaller. My gauge was really tight for this one. So they actually look like two different sizes, and they can be. So as long as you're within this range, I think you're really good. I had a much tighter gauge with this one. I use the same hook, but sometimes it happens. And then with this one, it's a lot looser. You will have the seam right here. I expect to see that seam, unless you tell me otherwise that you've gone ahead and you did a technique that got rid of it. But to keep with this pattern, I do like that. I like that I can know where the front and back of it is as well. And if you ever decide to crochet some other things like flowers or a stripe to go through it, that's a great way of measuring where the middle of it is. It's the same on this one. I have a seam there. So after that, you've finished. That's all there is to it. This is, of course, we just did one color on, I don't know if you can see this. We just did one color with these. They're gray. You can do it any colors. You can switch out colors. There are a lot of videos out there that tell you how to do that. Oh, one last thing. I did forget. If you want to measure it again to make sure how you would measure the length, you go to the very middle and you go straight down. So yeah, I made this very loose. It's 6 inches, but I give that amount. Some people have a looser gauge at times. I was a little tired today, so it was a little looser. So that was 6 inches. This pattern called for 5.5, so it's going to go a little bit longer, but that's okay. So thank you for joining my class. I hope you learned a lot. I can't wait to see your creations.